recording the meeting. I'm going to share my screen. You'll never guess what time it is. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the new agent call. And you all are going to love my my PowerPoint skills because I don't really have any, but I did put this together for you all just for a visual. It's not supposed to be pretty. If you guys don't think it's pretty, you can judge my husband. He's the one who made this. I'm just kidding. I'm the one who totally made this. And if you do manage to come in, I do have the settings set up to where you all are muted upon entry. If you guys do manage to be in here and your stuff is on as far as your sound, here, let me just go ahead and mute Steve here. Sorry, Steve, we love you and we'd love to hear you, but we'll listen to you later. At the end of this, at the end of the new agent call, I do have a section for Q&A. Q&A is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's going to give you an opportunity to ask me questions. For those who do not know who I am Jordan Gillum. I have been a part of Symmetry Financial Group for 4 years, officially this month. And my husband and I, we work together. His name is Jared. If you're part of our organization, he is the recruiter. He's the person who hired you, and he's the person who brought you on board. And he and I, we've been running this business together for 4 years. We are key leaders on our agency ownership run at the moment. It is a big deal, and I'm super pumped about it. We're on our 3rd month qualifying. So pumped, trying not to get overly excited about it. Sweaty palms. But I will say that I have the privilege of hosting the new agent call. This call basically is designed for those who are in their first 90 days of their business. And it's an opportunity for you all to get some serious insight on some main tips, you know, from what I've seen from agents that we have hired, agents ourselves when we got started, things that have brought us success, things that have not brought us success, and get you an insight on what not to do as well. And really just offer an opportunity at the end for you to ask any questions that you have based on what you have experienced so far. So one of the things I would love to ask if you all, just for the sake of pure full engagement, if you can, I understand if you're at a full-time job and you know, you're just trying to get out of that full-time job and you're listening in and you can't have your video on, I understand. But if you could turn your video on for the sake of being fully engaged. If you're watching the Jeffersons and doing this at the same time, I promise you're wasting your own time by being plugged in because you're not going to grasp this information. So please have your video on, be fully engaged, and I do have a section for questions at the end. So let's go ahead and kick this bad boy off. So I want to address the pink elephant in the room. I'm going to drop this smaller. There we go. I'm going to address the big pink elephant in the room. I don't know if y'all were like me. When I heard about Symmetry, it was exactly what I was looking for. But I always wondered, why doesn't everyone make it here? Like, what about Symmetry? It sounds good, but why doesn't everyone succeed when they start? And the reason why is because this is hard. This is not easy work. And so I just want to go ahead and be the first one if you haven't heard this yet, congratulations for doing something difficult with your life of starting your own business. So I do want to just give you guys some insight on the reasons why this is hard. And it's just strictly because of 2 things. If you've ever been in either a new agent mentor program with me or you're on my team, I talk about this probably more than anything else. You know, I'm always telling people they need to do more work or they need to not try to innovate. Those are the 2 things that I try to, you know, pound into people's heads when they get started. But the 2 biggest reasons why people fail in their first 90 days is because they don't do enough work. They fool themselves and they have the wrong expectations of what work is. And they try to make up their own script when we actually have a script to stick to. So if you're taking notes, which I pray that you are, because I want you to remember this stuff. Because the biggest thing that'll get in your way is right here, which we're going to talk about mindset here in just a second and how to really fuel your brain for doing the right things. So here's some key tips for success on the phones, guys. If you're dialing, there's only 2 things that can make you money in this business, which is running appointments and building a business and hiring people. So anything that's outside of that, we're not really going to talk about today because all of the other stuff that's out there is a distraction. It's going to keep you from making money. So we're going to only talk about the things that make you money, and it starts all on the phones. So if you're dialing, right, one, we've already talked about stick with the script. But other than sticking with the script, it's not just what you say, but it's how you say it, guys. We're in a world full of telemarketers. I don't know about you guys, but I get telemarketer calls every time I mention telemarketers. It's like they're hearing me and they're like, oh, now they want me to call. But one of the main things that really stand out about telemarketers is how they sound on the other side of the line. Nobody really hears what they say because they're so distracted by the way that they sound, and they talk fast. They talk very up, you know what I mean? Very upbeat, very eager. They're just ready to sell you something. As soon as I hear that tone, I'm hanging up. I don't care what they were talking about. So first key tip for the phone and being successful is speaking low and slow. Now, I like the way that Laura refers to it. She calls it her DJ late night speaking voice, right? So it's not taking a lot of pauses in what you're saying, but I'm going to go ahead and do it real quick. It's really slowing down the words that you're saying and saying it in a tone that is lower than your normal speaking voice. That is what low and slow means. That's pretty straightforward. We'll move into triple dialing. I coach on this all the time. When you're dialing through your leads, if you're brand new, you should at least know what a lead is if you're this far in your process. And so you have a lead, your lead has phone numbers to call. These are people asking for insurance coverage. They've put their phone number and they said, please call. They might have listed a time, but it doesn't matter. You can call them anytime. But when you call the phone number, just know that it's what it's like being on the other side of it, okay? This is why this makes sense. So if you got a phone call from a number you don't know, are you going to answer it? I know what I would do. The answer is definitely not. I am not answering that phone call. But if that number were to call me right back, I would sit there for a second and think through all of the potential phone calls I should be receiving today. And I might answer that phone call, especially if it had the same area code as my phone number, right? But if I didn't answer on the second time and it called me a third time, I'm answering that phone. So the whole point of dialing, guys, and I want to make sure that this is also clear. If you ever write down what the purpose of dialing is, it's setting appointments. It's setting appointments and resolving the lead, getting a yes or a no. The fastest way to making money here, guys, and I know we're all here to make money, right? I hope so. The fastest way to make money is to 100% resolve your leads. Now, it is almost impossible to expect to 100% resolve your leads every week because, the week will go by. Some people will not answer their phone, whatever, but try to aim for 90% resolution is a great number to settle in on before your next lead investment. But when you're 100% resolving your leads, the fastest way to resolve them is to triple dial your leads. So triple dialing is what I just said. You call the number, they don't answer, you call them right back. They don't answer, you call them a third time. Nowhere in there did I say leave a voicemail. Please do not leave voicemails unless you have actually exhausted the lead. Now, if you don't know what exhausting a lead is, contact your upline and say, I feel like I've exhausted my lead. They're going to ask you how many times they called through. You called through your lead, and they will tell you if you've exhausted it or not. That is not for me to tell you. That is for your upline to tell you. At that point, when it's fully exhausted, is when you should leave a voicemail. Number 3, booking appointments within 24 to 48 hours. I like dialing for same-day appointments. I like making same-day money. That's one of my most favorite things about what happened with COVID was the fact that we can run our appointments that we booked today for today because we're not driving anymore. We're just booking them to sit in the same spot that we sat when we booked them. That's where we're going to run the appointment. So I absolutely love that. I dial in the morning. I book for afternoon and evening. If I don't have my afternoon and evening booked up, I dial afternoon and evening, and I book up the next morning and afternoon. That is how you should be running your business to have the highest show rate. And last but not least, as far as key tips for success on the phone, set your goals for what you want to accomplish in your dial session. So if you're going to sit down and dial, have goals for yourself. Let your goal be, I'm not going to move from this spot unless I book 8 appointments. I'm not going to leave from this spot unless I've made 200 dials. Whatever it is, set a goal for yourself and don't stop until you hit your goals. And the reason for that is it's going to develop good habits. Now, right now, when you start your business, or if you're in your first 90 days, you're in a habit building mode, right? And everything you do will impact what you do tomorrow. It's going to impact whether it gets easier or harder, right? So if you want to get better, you want things to get easier, then you don't need to stop until you hit your goals. If you stop before you hit your goals, you're never going to guess what happens tomorrow. It's going to get easier to stop before you hit your goals tomorrow. And it's going to get harder to actually hit your goals and not stop. So develop the right habits. Also, let's have the right expectations. I think this is very important. If you're ever getting started on our team, like if you're on our team and, if you're getting started, we drill this. I actually just got off the phone with one of our agents talking about this. So the biggest thing that will get in your way when you get started in your business here will be right between your ears. It's your brain. And it starts with, did you set up the right expectations in here for what you're up against? Because if you understand that this is hard, if you understand you're going to receive a lot of no's, if you're going to understand that you're working 50-cent leads and you're going to get 10 to 12 times the amount of no's versus yeses you're going to hear, then it's going to be handled better with less emotion, right? We like taking the emotion out of this business because it's a business, right? This is what we should be doing, is removing the frustration and applying logic and activity. So let's talk about massive action and constant correction. So massive action, as you can see here, is 400 to 600 dials per week. That's not per day, guys. We're not asking you to sit by the phone for 10 hours a day, every day for 5 days a week, hitting 400 dials or anything. We're not saying that. 400 dials to 600 dials per week is what you should be doing. My favorite analogy or metaphor that Grant Reynolds used was, I don't know if you guys know Hot Wheels. I definitely do. I know my Hot Wheels. And you had your little car and they had the track that did the loop, right? And the only way that you could get the car to make the full rotation was to give it enough power. Because if you don't give it enough power, it's going to do this, and then it's going to go back, and then it's going to slowly settle into down here, right? That is exactly how the learning curve works within symmetry. You have to give this enough gas, enough activity to make the full rotation to get through your learning curve here. And it starts with $400 to $600 per week. Now, let's say that you have been a part of symmetry for three weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, and you've never done this before. Good news, you can start today. Good news, because I'll tell you, I've made every mistake in my 4 years here that there can be made, and I still haven't failed, or I haven't quit. When you quit is when you fail. So as long as you haven't quit, and you can apply this stuff today to your business to get through that rotation. Now you can do all that massive activity, but if you do a bunch of activity and you're not counseling, you're just digging a hole, and ain't nobody like digging holes. That's what Shia LaBeouf said. Nobody likes digging holes. And so you want to counsel with your upline every 5 times you speak with someone and you don't book an appointment. Just counsel with them. Say, here's what I've heard. Am I doing this correctly? If you do that, basically you'll imagine you're like a little rocket and you take off, right? You're going to be off kilter immediately. This, by counseling every 5 contacts, you're bringing yourself back towards your target, which is booking your first appointment. And then you're going to get off kilter, and then they're going to bring you back. And just keep doing that. And that will lead you towards getting the amount of sits you need every single week faster than anybody who doesn't do the massive action and constant correction. Also, have sufficient resources for your business. I am not going to walk through on this call what that means, because your upline should have already told you this. If they have not, ask them if you have sufficient resources, and they will straight up tell you if you do or you don't. But sufficient resources is the #1 key to being able to start massive action constant correction. You have to have the leads resources necessary to be able to call through, the book of business. You need to call through them, but you need to have sufficient resources. If you're on my team, you know exactly what that means, and I'm not going to beat that dead horse right now. And last but not least, as you can see on here, this is important to note. is a $250 per week investment should net you an income of $1,000 to $1,500 per week if done consistently over 6 weeks. And I know it says don't, it just means that I typed the wrong letter. I didn't mean to put a T, I meant to put an E. So if you sit with, or if you do the $250 per week investment every week for 6 weeks and you're applying the massive activity, you're counseling every 5 contacts, and you have the sufficient resources, you should be netting an income of $1,000 to $1,500 per week. And then you've got your SFG system down here, guys. Very simple. You can't beat these numbers. I just want to go ahead and let you know. If you started your first week and you sat with 4 people and you wrote 2 apps, it's all going to play against you eventually if you keep sitting with 4 families, just being straight up. If you're part-time, you need to be sitting with 8 to 10 families per week. If you're full-time, you need to be sitting with 15 plus families per week, and plan to be no-showed. Plan for it. If you don't plan for it, then you're not giving yourself the right expectations. A lot of people are no-showing or are getting no-showed at this time because we're not doing in-person appointments. It was much easier to make sure that an appointment got done when you drove to someone's house and they were home, rather than if they just don't click a link or they don't answer a phone call at the time that you guys have scheduled. So have sufficient amount of appointments booked. The only time where you're going to feel emotional about getting no-showed is if you don't have enough appointments. That is it. I promise you, if you have 15 appointments and you get no-showed, you'll be kind of glad so you can grab some lunch or something to drink or take a break. So have sufficient resources, have a sufficient workload, and everything will be just fine. Anybody I've ever seen sit with 15 families per week is successful here. And then key tips for the in-home. Now, guys, I know I'm flying through this. If you have questions, write them down. I am seeing things pop up in the chat bar. I am unable to read them right now just because I am going through this. I'm screen sharing and the technology doesn't allow for all that to happen at the same time. But if you do have questions about things I've addressed, things you've experienced, write them down. Like I said, there's a Q&A section at the end. And then as you can see here, I'm going to go through key tips for the in-home process. Your in-home process, follow the real system. If you don't have the real system printed off or somewhere nearby when you're running your appointments, that's the reason why you're not closing anything. That's the reason why you're getting to think about it. And that's the reason why you're not getting any applications. So follow the real system. Book your appointments no longer than 1 hour apart. I say that because our Zoom appointments should be actually ran in about 30 minutes, but you do need to take into the account of filling out applications. If you don't know how to fill out an application yet, then give yourself the grace, the space of time you need. So don't book them though longer than 1 hour apart. So if you're booking your appointments up for the evening, right? You're dialing in the morning, booking for the evening, you book at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And there's your 6 appointments for the day that you can run. Don't show your numbers in your appointment. And I say by showing numbers, don't go over the price of the insurance until you understand the family's situation. I actually had this conversation with a new agent yesterday. He was like, so when would it make sense for me to make these options up for protecting the family before the appointment? I could work this stuff up, right? Well, the answer is yes, but 2 things are going to happen. 1, you're going to be prejudging the family, thinking about what would you spend if you were them, right? And 2, you're not going to be actually fully present in the appointment. So you're not going to be able to help them the best that you possibly can. The number 1 reason why agents succeed here, and Symmetry agents are better than any other agent that's out there, and I mean that, now, I'm not trying to be biased, is because we care more than any other organization does. So when we care about the family, they can tell. Now, how do you care about a family you just met? And it's by listening to them and asking questions to understand what's going on in this family's mind. What are they concerned about? What's going to happen if something happens to Mary or John, right? So you've got to be present in the appointment. And if you work up numbers prior to the appointment, that's what you're going to be thinking about, is how does that fit with this family rather than what does this family need? So don't show any kind of numbers as far as quoted up material until you know what that family actually needs. Last but not least, I would say the number 1 thing you can do to be successful starting off Not only master your phone script, but master establishing your role and purpose in the home. My husband now, he does all the recruiting for our business, right? So I'm here in the kitchen. I'm actually in our dining room. That's my work from home office because I really don't like being in a four-walled room. And my husband works in the office, which is our second bedroom, right? And he runs all of our interviews all day long. I run our appointments. Now, if there was a time that I couldn't run an appointment and he hasn't ran an appointment in a while, he could still run an appointment and succeed in helping a family because he knows his role and purpose like the back of his hand. Now, what your role and purpose is on the in-home is explaining to the family who you are and what you're going to be doing with them during your Zoom appointment. I want to make this clear. You can be nice to someone and you can, or you can follow through with the things that you say you're going to do. If you weren't really that nice with someone, if that makes any sense, like if you were just focused on doing what you say you're going to do versus being excessively kind to someone, you're going to be kinder than this person just because you follow through on what you say you're going to do, right? You can establish a lot of credibility by saying, "Hey, John and Mary, here's what we're going to do while we're here on our appointment. I like to get to know you and your situation because I do understand that every family is different. I would like to ask you a couple of questions to understand your situation so that we can establish whether or not you need mortgage protection or not. If we do find that you do need mortgage protection insurance, I'm going to verify your health info, and then I'm going to go over some different programs that may suit your family. All you have to do is pick out your program, and I'm going to show you how to fill out the application for that. I'll take care of all the back end stuff from there, and then you'll be hearing back from me with a phone call once everything's been approved. Do you have any questions about how this process works? And they're going to say, nope. And then you do exactly what you said you were going to do in order. That is kind. That is clear. And that will get you families helped. So I said we were going to talk about mindset. We've already talked about the two things that are going to make you money, which is booking appointments, running appointments, and helping families. But this right here, right? So guys, I make this joke every week, but honestly, I could have no legs and do my job, right? So it's not like we require a lot of physical labor to do what we need to do, but we do require emotional labor. So we have to take care of this, right? So take care of your most precious asset, guys, which is your brain. By reading the book of the month. Obviously, I haven't updated this from last month. I'm sorry. The book of the month now, I don't think I can actually change this. I'll put the book of the month in the chat section. I know Dustin will update it. It is How Successful People Think by John Maxwell. Read the book of the month. It will help you take care of this because it will change the way that you think and help you defeat bigger problems than you are capable of defeating right now. So it's How Successful People Think by John Maxwell. Prioritize conference calls over your dials and running appointments. I'm obviously preaching to the choir because you guys are here. But when you've got a conference call, that goes first in your calendar. So you've got to prioritize that over running appointments and dials. If you miss a national sales call because you're dialing and running appointments, I promise you, you're not going to be able to help that family the best you possibly can because there's info in that call that is needed for you to help that family the best way that you can. So prioritize your conference calls. If you don't have a conference call schedule, please get with your upline. They will help you have all of that. We actually do, all Symmetry agents receive an email on Saturdays titled Your Latest Happenings with Symmetry. And it has the links, the calls, the times, the topics, everything. So just make sure on Saturdays you're checking for that. It says steer clear of energy vampires. I think this is very important to note. It's not just as important to be around the right people as much as it is to be away from the wrong people. I mean this with all due respect to my family and my husband's family, but our family sometimes aren't the most supportive people we've ever met. They don't really fully understand what we do. They do know that we run our own business, but they don't really understand what all that we do. So being around them for a long period of time can be draining because they talk about things that don't benefit us. And you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've got anybody in your life that only talks about people instead of ideas, or you've got people who complain more than they praise and celebrate. Those are the kind of people you want to take note of not spending as much time around. We do understand that we're not trying to say avoid your family at all costs. I'm not trying to say that. I still have to spend time with my family, holidays, be it. I do the whole 2 hour, 2 day, 2 week rule, where I think to myself, how much time would I want to spend with this person? Is it 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks? You know what I mean? And then I can assess from there if they add or they take away from me, and then I can assign that. Enroll in Thrive training on the SFG website. It is a wellness and development training that Symmetry created to help you take care of you and be bigger and better for your own family and for your life, to treat people better, leave them better than you actually met. It's all over the SFG website. If you have trouble finding that, then get with your upline. It is a fun training. It doesn't require you to sit down and take hours of your life out for it. You can treat it the same way of reading the book of the month, do 10 pages a day or 10 minutes of Thrive training, and it will add to you. That is what it's designed for, is to add to you and help recharge you for the families that you're talking to. Also important is carve out you time. For example, my husband and I, we work 5 days a week in our business. We take weekends off. When we first started this business, we couldn't afford to take weekends off. We had to kind of get out of balance to get back in balance. But it was very important for us to spend what little downtime that we had as downtime, as us time. That doesn't mean going and blowing a bunch of money or getting drunk on the weekend or whatever. That's not actually down rechargeable time. So we, every weekend we go hiking. Every weekend we, clean the house, clean our workspace, and we just spend time together. But that time is designed just for us to recharge, not to run our business. So be sure to carve out you time, speak with your upline about your schedule, just to make sure that you're doing that as efficiently as possible and not taking away from getting yourself into the balance of this business. There's SoundCloud trainings under the Symmetry Financial Group playlist. So SoundCloud is an app. It's like a little white cloud with some orange lines through it. I think it's an orange tabbed, orange branded app on your phone. So you go under SoundCloud. It's a free app you can download. You look under the Symmetry Financial Group playlist, and there are hundreds of training calls to listen to recorded on there. So be sure to make the time to sharpen your own axe. I think it was Abraham Lincoln. I have no idea. They always say, like, all these old people that these quotes and references are referred to. So I'm not sure who it was. I'm going to go Abraham Lincoln, where he said he spends 2 times as much time sharpening his axe as he does swinging it. So it is very important to make sure you're using your time sharpening your axe as well as swinging the axe. So you've got your hours in the day, you're dialing, you're booking appointments, you're only spending time on the money-making activities. When you're off work, you sharpen your axe. Okay, so I had an agent the other day who ran an appointment. It didn't go exactly as well as they had planned. We gave them some homework as far as like a recording they could listen to get better on the subject, and then they started listening to it. When in reality, she should have got back on the phone, switched that around, which she ended up doing after counseling. I said, hey, switch your time. Use your time that you have available for work to work, and then listen to your recording. And she booked more appointments. And out of the appointments she booked, she wrote an app, because then after she was done working, she listened to the recording. Last but not least is please go to the Success and Telesales training videos on the SFG website. It's underneath training, underneath the Success and Telesales tab. You scroll all the way to the bottom, and then it's Edward Pritchett. It's a 15-minute video of him running a live appointment. If you want to see what an appointment looks like ran in live time, go to that video. Go to the video. Do yourself a favor. That's all I'm going to tell you. So I do want to mention that your first 9 months are going to be your hardest. Remember, have the right expectations for your business. Just know in your first 9 months, you're working on 75% of your income because of the advance. So be sure to always have a full pipeline. Write apps every week. Don't take time off. And by time, I don't mean like a day. Don't take weeks off just because you can. Because the first rule of business is to stay in business, guys. If you take weeks off out of your business in your first 9 months, you're never going to guess what's going to happen. You're going to go out of business because you don't have constant business coming in those few weeks after. When you take 2 weeks off, your bank account will feel it. And I don't know about you, but I got lights I got to keep on, got mouths to feed. So please be sure, for your sake, for your family's sake, and having the right expectations, do not take weeks off in your first 9 months of your business. Even though you can, just don't, because you've got a family to feed, you've got goals you need to have, and you're living on 75% of your income. I think this is the last thing I have here before the Q&A, guys, is the bulletproofing your business. So my husband and I got real bad sick in July with what we believe to have been the thing, you know, the big C word that's going on. Not that one. It's COVID, that one. And basically, when we got real bad sick, we couldn't do anything. We were couch bound, and we were both basically just trying to take care of each other to get through that time. And for 3 weeks, we were down and out. And so what little business I managed to put together during that time was off of our current book of business, but we had a team running appointments. And because our team was running appointments and they were helping families and those families were getting approved, the insurance carriers were bonusing us our spread. They were paying the spread between our contract and our team's contract. And so our income didn't stop when we were sick. We were sick for 3 weeks. Imagine being out of your business for 3 weeks. Could you keep your business up with your consistent investment? And if you can't, that's because you don't have passive income. So do yourself a solid, build a business today. The best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago and today. So build your business. I can't tell you how grateful I am for Symmetry having this function to their business, because I have no idea where I would be right now. I would just be another salesperson looking for where the grass was greener. But I have now retirement. I have security. We have a future. You know, as we build this business together, we're going to be able to do what we actually want to do, how we want to do it, because of the fact that we built a business. And if that sounds in line with what you're looking for and what stood out to you in Symmetry, then participate in Project 100 in cold market recruiting. Now, when you're starting off and you don't have a lot of funds really to kickstart your business, Project 100 is the way to start. Project 100 means you write down 100 people's names. Now, if you're like, oh, I don't know 100 people, I'm going to tell you that I know 100 people, and I am like a quarter of the age of a lot of people who are here. And the people I know are actually older than me. So we all have at least 100 contacts on Facebook and our phones and our email address book. You name it. We know 100 people. And you write down the names of the people and you reach out to them and you say, hey, are you in the job market? Hey, I've been assigned as a business recruiter for what we're doing. I think you'd be a great fit for it. Are you in the job market? Hey, do you know of anybody who's in the job market? And you just ask 100 people if they or someone they know is in the job market. And if they say yes, or they give you names of people, then you send those people 2 videos, and your upline's got those videos. You've probably seen them yourself when you started, and it labels out what the business is. It doesn't require for you to know it verbatim, right? Because you're new. We don't expect you to know everything about this business verbatim yet. We expect you to be learning how to dial and set appointments. So you send them the 2 videos and you schedule a time for a 3-way interview between you and your upline, and they will help you hire and build your business when you start. Now, let me be straightforward about something. We do not expect a brand new agent to train their team, but you're also going to find out that nobody's really training you either. All we're doing is plugging you into the system to learn how to do what you do. And it's only those who can grasp it and understand what's going on and apply it are those who will succeed here because of self-discipline and the same values that Symmetry runs their business off of. That is all that we're looking for, is people who get it. This business is more caught than taught, right? So all you have to do is share the plan, edify those who are doing the right things, and point them in the direction of calls like this, of Zoom sessions like Elijah dialing yesterday. You literally got to listen to a guy who has deposited well over 6 figures into his bank account this year already, who's 23 years old. You got to listen to him book his appointments in live time. That's enough training for anybody to understand how we do. So that's Project 100. Now you've exhausted your Project 100. You have no more warm market people to reach out to about this business. You can invest in cold market recruiting, which is ZipRecruiter. So we put out, my husband and I, we invest in our recruiting. It's not an expense in our opinion. This is our future. We are investing towards our retirement, which is our business, right? So we invest $12.50 a month. That is not the lowest amount you can go to start your cold market recruiting. I believe it's $300 is the starting point. So $300 a month is less than what you get paid on one application. If it is important to you to build a business, then you will invest in it. So if it sounds like something you want to do, basically what ZipRecruiter is and investing in it, it gives you job ads that you can place anywhere in the United States. People respond to your job ads. We've got all of this stuff already set up with templates and stuff for you. So it doesn't require you to provide any kind of innovation. It's just imitating what's already in place. And then calling through these responses to your ads, setting them up for an interview and interviewing them and bringing them on board. That is all that cold market recruiting does. It gives you access to a whole nother realm of people looking for jobs rather than just your warm market. I found Laura Davis in my Project 100. Grant Reynolds found Elijah Carujo in his Project 100. It definitely helps warm market recruiting and cold market recruiting because trust is already established. But cold market recruiting will give you access to the consistency of not having to continuously be prospecting for people, like talking with people at Chick-fil-A or talking with people at a restaurant or whatever. It gives you a direct access to people who are responding to your jobs and stuff like that. So we invest in cold market recruiting. It's very important for our business. And if you're building a business here, it should be important in yours. But I think that's it. That's all I got. I'm very excited to have shared all this stuff with you. I know it may seem like a lot of information, but it is very simple, direct. You're either building a business or you're running or you're producing, like you're self-employed. So it's one or the other. So here comes our Q&A section, guys. I'm going to actually stop the screen share, bring us all back on here. Oh my goodness, my mail just came up and it told me all the mail that I just got. Hold on just a second, fixed it. Okay. And now here's our section to where you can start asking some questions. Let's see. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself because you have that ability to do so. I don't think I have that to where you can't unmute yourself, but if you have a question, please unmute yourself. We have time. We got through this in a very fast pace, which is great. So we do have time for quite a few questions in case anyone has one starting out. There's not a bad question.
Hey Jordan, it's Dustin Hensley, Director Mark Neubauer, and there is a list somewhere, right, of like memory joggers for the Project 100. How would I go about finding that?
Say that one more time.
There's a list somewhere of the, oh, hold on. Here we go, is that better? There's a list somewhere of the memory joggers for Project 100, right? I think I've heard someone.
I don't know what a memory jogger is, so I don't think I'm going to be able to answer this question.
Oh, okay. How do we come up with the list of the 100 people? Do you have any methods or?
Actually, I'm going to tell you I'll tell you the method that I used, and I know that this is going to sound very elementary, but I'm a pen to paper kind of person. I sat in a coffee shop and I wrote down 100 people. I scrolled through my friends list, my contact list, and I just wrote down 100 names. And I wrote down next to those names how I would contact them. Whether it was a Facebook message, a text message, a phone call, I just wrote that down. And I just crossed them off as I went through them.
There are some apps available that'll take your contacts and do the same thing.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, I am unaware of what that is. I am not a tech savvy person. The fact that I created a PowerPoint, I was pretty impressed with that. So if you guys have further information, where's the sound? Oh, that's Judd. Hey, Judd.
Hey, the cold call or the cold lead system, say not, on career site, where do you get that information?
Judd, I could barely hear you. If you will text what you said and put it in the chat bar, it sounds like you have like an emptying balloon heading towards the speaker.
Sorry, I'll quit talking.
You're fine. Just put it in the chat bar. I'll read it out loud for you, okay?
I did. It's in there right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And he said, where do you get, where do you get information on cold call recruiting? Yeah. So here, I'm going to mute your line just because it's like a really distracting sound. It's not him. Oh, it stopped. Okay, that was weird. Sorry, I don't know if you guys heard it, but I totally did. Did you guys hear that? That was weird. Okay, yeah, okay. So where do you get information on cold market recruiting? It's actually under the Build a Business tool on the SFG website. Okay, yeah, I was gonna actually go there real quick. It's under the Business Builder portion of the SFG website. I think it's under the training tab. I think it's under the training tab. I'm going off of memory here, guys, so don't quote me on that. But I know it's on the SFG website. Also, I can't stress this enough. If it is something you want to get started, please counsel with your upline first, because your upline will give you strategic methods on how to be successful quickly, right? So there's things that you may want to get started, but if you want to get it started right, get with them first. Say, hey, I want to go ahead and get this started, and they will help you every step of the way. So I hope that's helpful. It is on the SFG website though. Any other questions? And Judd, if you do have more questions, will you please type them in the chat bar, because that was a very weird sound. And I appreciate you for sharing your question. I'll go ahead. And I feel terrible because I know I'm not going to say your last name right. What is that?
Warzak.
Warzak?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
It's Polish. It's Wawrzak, but it's Warzak, so people can pronounce it.
I like that. No, I like that. We actually have a Polish guy on our team too, and I can't pronounce his last name for the life of me.
It's hard.
Warzak. I like
I'm married into it, so.
What's your question?
My question is the triple dialing. How much of a negative response do you get when people actually get on the phone with you when you triple dial?
That is a great question. I love that question. And I'll tell you, it's one of the first initial fears that you will have when you triple dial is like, good God, this person's going to answer and scream at me. Even if they do, right? Which I would say happens less often than it doesn't, right? So a lot of times people will be like, hello, right? That's really not a negative response. It's how you internalize it, right? So take the emotion out of it. When you talk low and slow back to them and read the script, it won't be negative anymore. It won't be. And if they are, then they're just having a bad day and you just so happen to be like in the crossfire. Yeah. So yeah, so don't take that in, because that fear will stop you. The fear of something happening will stop you from actually getting your job done, and you're creating something that won't happen.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. That's a good question. Steve, I see you're unmuted.
Well, yeah, if I was tech savvy, you'd be able to see me also.
You're all good. Hold on, actually, let's do that. I just asked to start your video. I don't know if that helped.
Maybe. It says cannot start. No, I have a message. I don't know.
Oh, you're fine.
To start video camera. That's what I got before. So
you're fine. Keep going. What's your question?
Is there? I'm looking at the obviously doing telesales for everything, and as far as applications, you're taking an application. Is there a place online I can do that without having to go to the individual carriers? Or is that a platform that's going to be built in the future, or do we have to go individually to the carriers and look at their product?
Okay, so let me make sure I understand your question.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm partially understanding it. Are you saying that you've got a client, you're talking to them, and you're about to write the application for the client? Is there one platform that we can go to write whatever application that
at least like for tier 1?
Yeah, for tier 1. Yeah. So it depends. Like sometimes, so we use Virtual Mentor as a Rolodex. Now, Steve, if you don't know what Virtual Mentor is yet, that is okay. You know what I mean? It's not really like a huge end all be all moment for your business or anything. It is Virtual Mentor, guys, is a Rolodex for the carriers that are out there to help a family. So on there, once they pop up American Amicable or Mutual of Omaha as something that they tentatively could be approved for, they do have a run quote button, and they do have an application button next to each one, and it's on the one website. Now, sometimes Virtual Mentor can mess up because it's not meant to be used as the end all be all tool to access this information. It's just like I said, it's a Rolodex. It might as well just be like a couple of cards on a rod sitting on your table, right? So if you click on application and it takes you there, great. If it doesn't, then you do need to know how to use the websites individually to access the applications, which is very simplified for Mutual of Omaha. It's just mutualofomaha.com. log in under sales professionals and go to electronic applications. For American Amicable, it's insuranceapplication.com, mobile applications, and log in. So those are your two for your core carriers for American Amicable and Mutual of Omaha. But Virtual Mentor would be what I would say would be that one platform, but I wouldn't, I want to make sure this is clear. Do not rely on it as your end all be all resource for what you need. Learn your carriers.
Okay, is there a monthly fee for that?
No.
Okay.
And Jared, actually, Steve, after we're done with this, if you want to get with me, I will show you how to set that up. It's free.
Hey, Jordan, it's Judd again. Can you hear me this time?
Yeah, you sound great.
I came into my little office here.
Oh, cool. Yes.
I got off the headsets. What are your thoughts on the RoboDialer? I've seen some people use it. I know when Grant used it, it was very nice because it popped the leads up on the screen. He was able to look at it and read it. He had two screens, and it's not very expensive. I thought it was a pretty good price.
Yeah.
And it not only helps you make the calls faster, but it just, I like what the looks of it, displaying the lead information, so you're not fumbling papers, and so what are your thoughts on that?
So here's my thought on the RoboDialer, and I appreciate all the good insight on that. I really do. So on just a second here.
And
so
do you
I am a caveman. Okay, Dustin actually was able to spend the weekend in the week with us. I am a caveman. Okay, so I like doing what works, and I'm not a big innovator, right? So I like, if something works, I'm going to stick with it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So a lot of other people, though, love digitalizing things and having that automation. You know what I mean? So for some people, it could be beneficial as a tool. For me, it's a hindrance. It's a distraction, and it doesn't get me where I'm trying to go. I know I can get my job done if you gave me this, if you gave me this, and I gave me one of these. I can do my job. So that's how I look at it. Is it's a distraction. I set it up one time, I couldn't figure it out, so I canceled it, and I went right back to dialing people on a piece of paper and a phone. Like that's what I do. So I would just share with you all that the RoboDialer can be helpful, but don't let it distract you from getting your job done. That would be how that's my take on the RoboDialer.
And I do have another question as far as the leads you're showing. You just put up a big pile of papers. So you're keeping HP Inc. company in business, I guess.
Oh, wait, hear about this one. Dustin learned about our process this weekend. I am not
like 10 cartridges in the back room waiting to go in.
I can't wait for you guys to hear about what I do.
My question is, I just bought some leads. I did, I see they're all in a PDF format. Is it a good idea to call them or pull them up? Because I've got two screens I can look at. I can pull the lead up and look at it, and I can still have a laptop and operate on the other side. But is it a good idea to practice to print them all out, or just to, or what's your thoughts on that, or just to call them individually and as you pull them up on the screen? Because I know you're going to call, let's say 100 leads. You're going to call them till they're exhausted or done. So you need something to write notes on, right? You need to take notes. So what are your thoughts on that? That's a long way of asking the question.
Yes.
You already are showing me that you're printing out everything.
No, I'm actually not printing out everything. So but I do want to give you guys insight on the process, right? So when I started, we had none of this fun stuff that makes things easier. We didn't have Virtual Mentor. We didn't have the RoboDialer. We only had booklets, paper apps. We didn't have e-apps, and that's in 4 years ago, guys. That's how much this business has changed and how much they've invested in trying to make this easier for you all. Like our trunk or the back wheels of our car were bent like this. We had a toe in the back because of how much paper we had in our trunk at all times, right? We'd turn the corner and be like, every time we would turn because all the papers that were back there. So when I started, I printed off all of my leads, and I worked at Chris's office, and I probably owe him a lot of money for the ink that I used at his office, right? So it wasn't me, but I did keep UPS. Like I would go to UPS and I'd print them off there. I was very good at knowing what email that I had to send the leads to get them printed off and stuff. Until one day we realized that everything can be ran electronically. So what I did is I just have my PDF of what it needs to be resolved brought up every week. I take notes on a piece of paper, on a college ruled piece of paper. I put down who it is, if I resolved it or not, yes or no. And basically I've got notes of that stuff so that's what these notes are. These notes are not my leads. This is my notes of the people I'm dialing and yes or no. So that's how many leads and dials and all kinds of stuff that I do. And just to answer your question about HP Ink, we got a Canon printer that was like 20 bucks. My husband YouTubed a video about how to hijack a printer cartridge. And basically you take a little pin and you like put a little hole in the printer cartridge, and you can buy a huge thing of ink on Amazon for like $8, and you just turn that thing over and you pour ink inside of there. And you refill the ink cartridge every single time, and then you close it back up with its little tab, and it works the charm. So we do not spend a ton of money on ink because we have learned how to hijack our printer. That is a true story. So you guys want more insight on how that's done, don't ask me, I don't do it. So it's
good advice.
Yeah, it is. Hey, there's always an easier way. Like I said, we're a caveman couple. You know what I mean? Like we figure out how to make pen and paper work at all times. So yes, that is how we manage our business. So any other questions that you guys may have? I'm realizing how fun this business is the more we talk about it. Yes, Warzek.
Thank you.
My
My question is like, do you guys have, I know you said the SoundCloud is good for trainings and stuff, but do you have like screen sharing trainings where you go through the applications and like you can watch somebody do something physically on the computer? That way you can get a
That's a
visual
great question. That's a great question. And here, what I want to share with you is there's a lot of that stuff you can do on your own in your own time. So if you're uncomfortable with the process, right, and you want to get to know it prior to running an appointment and actually being with someone, then you can like run a mock application on yourself. You don't actually have to put the banking info in and, submit it to the carrier, but you can go to the website, run through an application on your mom, on your dog, or whoever. It doesn't matter. You can just make one for that and practice this. Then what you're going to find, Warzak, is that everything is the same with each insurance carrier. There might be one or two small differences, like United Home Life requires a phone interview, but everything else is the same. Or this one has a COVID questionnaire when this one doesn't. There's very small differences. So once you kind of nail one down, like let's say you start on American Amicable with Home Certainty, you nail Home Certainty down, you're going to know how to write Term Life Express with Mutual of Omaha. So just practice in your own due time. Another thing, as far as screen sharing goes, your upline is not going to be against practicing with you or your family. As far as you emailing them Zoom links, just to make sure you've got that looking professional from one direction to the next. They hop on the Zoom link with you. My best friend and I, we used to work out together on our Zooms when we first switched over back in March to Zoom sessions. I would send her one. I would screen share with her the workout that we were going to do. And I practiced it that way of how to utilize the Zoom thing. So you can use it however you need to outside of your business to practice how to use it in your business.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a good question. Any other questions? I love those questions. I've been having a blast with you guys. I don't know what it is about this group this week. This has been fun. I'm not nervous. Let's see.
It might be, speaking of sharing your screen time and Zoom time, maybe like, I'll say it, Warzak, is that right? Like you can send me a proposal and then do me a Zoom invite and we can get on it together and practice, just an idea. And then I can send you one and practice even a presentation. So
exactly. Yeah.
Just a thought,
I want to make sure other things are straightforward. I don't know if you've heard me say it 100 times today. Please do the practice you need to do outside of business hours. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that you're thinking, well, I want to know how to do this before I start doing business related activities. I promise you'll figure it out before an appointment. If you had an appointment booked, you'll figure it out. So just make sure you're doing the things that bring you money, because you will only get distracted, you'll only get frustrated, and you will then be broke. And we don't want that. Steve, I think you had a question. Do you have a question, Steve? I saw you on mute for a minute.
No, not
okay.
really.
Okay, that's fine. Judd, do you have another question?
No, I was going to say, so then I can call her at 2 a.m. in the morning then, and we can do the video.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
totally fine. That'll work. That'll work. Weekends are also viable. Let's see. Actually, I want to take just a brief second here. If DJ, can you unmute yourself for a second? I don't know how where you are, what you're doing. See if this works. DJ, please do something with the computer. All right. Well, he may or may not. I really wanted to just ask a quick question to DJ since he has been seeing a lot of success starting off, but it seems that he doesn't have access. Hey, I think he's scared. DJ, are you here?
Yeah, right here.
Awesome, DJ. And this
Can
is
you hear me?
DJ Robinson, right?
Yes.
Awesome. I am
Correct.
pumped that you're here. I've always wanted just a brief second of your time just to do a quick little brain pick. I want to ask you, because you started your first month last month. Is that right, DJ?
That's right. Yep.
Awesome. And
Just over a month ago.
awesome. What did you finish your first month at?
I had a pretty good month. First month in, I started full time, and so my whole focus was, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really commit myself. I know it was not an easy decision because, you know, obviously I've got a family, but I just decided to go all in, and so I did it. I put in probably about a good, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, 5 days a week. And I finished the month, my first month, having no experience with, you know, with Symmetry previously. I did about, I think it was right around 3,800 in premiums. I had written a couple additional apps, but they didn't get approved. And that was more just because I wasn't quite sure what would qualify or who would qualify, or, you know, based on medical.
Mhm.
So I actually had about $5,500 in total premiums that I'd submitted, but not all of them got approved. And I learned to focus on making sure I understood those important aspects of the business real quick once I started realizing that you got to make sure you're sitting with the right clients and booking the right appointments and asking the right questions.
Awesome. And DJ, you finished October with what in APV?
In October, I was right up around, I think right around 6,800 in APV.
6,800. That's awesome. And so that's your first month starting off. That's right. Am I hearing that right?
Correct.
Awesome. And so what would you say really, when you spend your time 8 to 10 hours a day, what were you doing during those times?
Well, the first, I mean, really, like, to me, it was a matter of just creating that focus and, you know, being completely sold on what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a point to start dialing right from day one. As soon as I got approved by American Amicable, I went in, and that was the only carrier I was approved with. And I purchased leads. And the first day, I started dialing at about 12 o'clock noon, and I dialed from about 12 noon to 5. And I was just calling people, you know, one phone call, no answer, go to the next lead. One phone call, no answer, go to the next lead. And I did that. I did that for a number of weeks, actually. I bought all 50-cent leads. I didn't buy anything other than 50-cent leads. And the reason was because I didn't know enough to make mistakes on the more costly leads. I didn't want to buy, you know, 5A or 4A leads and not really know what I was doing and not know how to input an app and all that kind of stuff. So I started making calls, 50-cent leads. Wasn't until about 2 weeks into me working that, you know, I talked to Chris, and I also talked to Elijah, who was also very awesome. I picked his brain a number of times, and, you know, was told, you know, call your clients more than once. So I then triggered into calling people twice. Now, you know, about a month and a half later, I'm calling everybody 3 times in a row.
Nice.
And I get a lot more success. But it was all about just being focused. It was all about making calls, not being afraid to pick up the phone, you know, not being fearful. If I'm going to get anyone on the phone that's going to be upset or why are you calling or hanging up, that's fine. My job is not to try to make people feel good. My job is not to, you know, making phone calls so that I'm making friends with everybody I talk to. My job is to identify those people that are, number one, open and interested in what we have to offer that's going to help them and their family, and basically sift through and filter through to find those individuals And once I identify the type of, client and prospect that really wants to work with us, who we can help, and they obviously in turn are helping themselves and their families, then I'm going to shed where our value kicks in. So I kind of look at it this way. It was, for me, I like football. I've always liked football. I grew up in the East Coast, was born in Maryland, lived in Maryland, DC, Virginia all my life. I'm in California now. Been here for a number of years, like California too, but I still miss the East Coast. And my biggest thing with football, the analogy I like to use is I like defense. I play defense when I play football. And I think of this business like being a defensive end. So for those of you who know football, or like football, or watch football, defensive end's job, every snap on defense is to chase down the quarterback. So every time the ball is snapped, they're trying to get the quarterback every single time. How many times do they actually sack the quarterback or, tackle the running back in the backfield? Not many. They may make a great tackle in the backfield, once every 10 plays or once every 20 plays. So I look at it like this. Every time I pick up the phone, I'm chasing that quarterback. I'm chasing that ball. I might not get to the ball or to the player who's got the ball, once every 10, 15, 20 dials. But guess what? If you get to that player or you get to that client who's got the ball or who's got what we're looking for, we've got what they're looking for. That's how you score points. That's how you get ahead. So that's really what my analogy is. And I just focus on that. Every time I get a no, it's like, great, that means I'm closer to the yes.
Nice. Thank you, DJ. We really appreciate that. And I hope you guys were able to take something from that, from a brand new agent, no experience with Symmetry starting off, just providing consistent, simple things that are within the lines of what we've just talked about today, which was making sure that you're spending your time on the things that make you money, which is talking with families, identifying those that actually need our help and helping them. It's not about, remember, it's not about how kind you are to the family as much as it is about following through about the things that they need us for. So just remember, this is more kind than just being nice to people and being their friend. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, please direct your question to your upline. They are all geared towards helping you get you what you want. So please just ask them. They will help you. All of the things that I've given you as far as advice today, it's not something I came up with. It is not. It is what I've learned through the system of not doing what I want to do, but doing what I needed to do in the system. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It was a pleasure, and let's go kick some rear end. Have a good one.